Hi, this is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. Let's talk about getting your meat and where you're going to get it and how you're going to find a really good rancher. And there's a lot of debate. I mean, if you want to get a really good debate going in the carnivore community, insist that the only great beef is grain finished. And you will see people all up in arms. There are some people that are, purists who only believe that the only real beef and the only way to be a real carnivore is to eat grass-fed and finished beef that has been organically raised in pristine conditions with little ponds, and they get the daily massage. Okay, that's extreme, but you'd almost get to that point in some of the carnivore community. And frankly, I think they're blowing smoke. I mean, when you really look at the numbers, there's not much difference between grass-fed, grain-finished, or grass-fed, because most cows are raised on grass most of their life until the end of it, and when they get sold to a feedlot. And the way the cattle industry works is they want to fatten up the cattle as much as possible, but keeping in mind that they know that most of the market likes leaner cuts of meat, so they finish them off, get them just right, and it's mass-produced beef. And it's not bad. It's actually quite fantastic. It tastes pretty darn good, and it's very nutritious. I mean, you're not going to go wrong going to Costco, Walmart, or anything else and getting beef, and be it hamburger, steaks, whatever. That is highly nutritious food, certainly, and if you're eating that, it is certainly better than anything else that's in the rest of the supermarket disguising itself as food. I mean, that stuff, if you're thinking that eating Lucky Charms or oatmeal is making you healthy, you're on the wrong channel, because what you're eating there is just slave food or human pet chow. That stuff will not make you healthy. The thing that makes you healthy is meat. So where do you get it? What type do you want? What do you need? And I gotta keep trying to explain, there's really not much of a difference except to you as far as your taste is concerned. And that's the important part more than anything else. I happen to like grass-fed finished beef. I think it tastes better. And it's definitely, you can look at the fat between a grass-fed and a grass-finished and a grain-finished steak, and you'll see a difference in the color of the fat. It's usually more whitish and grain-finished, yellow in the grass. Whether that makes a difference for your health, who knows? I mean, there's just not been any real studies on it, but it definitely tastes different. And some people say that the grass finished is a little bit tougher than the other. I happen to like it. Some people don't. Look, I mean, there's this phenomenal beef that comes from Japan called Wagyu, which is just incredibly well marbled, and I've had some of it, and it's fantastic. So if you can get that, if you can afford that and you want that, that's fine. But at some point, if you're doing this you realize, if you've made the commitment that you are going to go carnivore or really even keto, and you're going to need beef and a lot of it, then I'm going to strongly suggest you go out and you find a local rancher. So there's only 4 companies that do most of the meat packing in this country, and they have kind of a monopoly on the whole system. And it's frustrating to me when I see farmers and ranchers who are raising cattle. They go to a feedlot for a couple of days. These guys get paid pennies on the dollar, and it spends 2 days on a feedlot, and suddenly they do markups of a couple of 100%, and it's fairly corrupt, small, monopolistic system. So one way of avoiding a lot of the whole nonsense is just to buy your beef directly from the rancher. And there's a lot of places, when you start poking around on the internet, that almost every state has ranchers, and you can find people that are more than willing to sell direct to consumers. There are meat packing plants. There's still some small independent meat packing plants that can take care of and clean the cow and cut it up for you and make the hamburger and all that other stuff. And it's fun working with them and getting to know them. Here's a picture of my haul. Every year I buy about a half a cow, and that's what pretty much sustains me through most of the year. And it's a great operation. I've got a guy that does grass-fed, finished, no hormones and no vaccines, and it comes out to about $5 a pound, and that is processed. So that's all that meat there's at $5 a pound, half a year's worth of food for about $1,300. And and that's not the totality of my calories, because I travel quite a bit, so I eat out, and at some point I run out of ribeyes and I'll go to Costco or something like that and buy one of those big packages, 20 pounds of ribeye when it goes on sale. And I do pay attention to sales, and I'll buy a bunch of ribeye meat and cut it up. So I look for that, or look for the rib roasts and things like that, which are some of my favorite cuts of meat. But for the most part, this is what I'm living off of. You eat the roast a lot during the winter, grill the steaks during the summer, and that works out well for me. But it was fun looking for a rancher, and when I knew I wanted to go carnivore, first thing I did was I bought a freezer. And then I started looking for ranchers, and I actually found 4, and I bought quarter cows from 4 of them. This is try out the different types of meat, because I didn't know when I started off, do I really like grass-fed finished? Do I like them grain finished, etc.? So I got some of each, and I got one of the places that I went and got some of my steak from actually supplied to one of the best steakhouses in Oklahoma City, and we've got some great ones. And they couldn't sell to that restaurant because it was during COVID and it was during the lockdown, so they were selling direct to consumers. So I got to try out their beef, and frankly, theirs wasn't as good as the guy that I settled on. For my personal taste, I like the grass-fed and finished, and the 2-year, he keeps his cows for 2 to 3 years, and it just tastes great to me. But that's my preference. Not everybody likes that. There's some folks I know that prefer older cows. And frankly, if you like beef that has more of a beefy flavor to it, very well marbled, get an older cow. Poke around. I mean, some of these ranchers, they don't think they're going to get much money for them because, frankly, people do not, they think that all good cattle meat has to be 2 to 3 years old. And so you buy one that's maybe 8 to 10, and you might get that at a big discount. And if you like the taste, that's fantastic. So it just depends on what you like. Get to know your rancher, get to know their practices. I mean, it's kind of fun, to actually know the practices. And I have a personal preference. I have a soft spot in my heart for people that do regenerative agriculture. And my guy that raises my cattle is a retired engineer, and I call him the cow nerd because he loves. When I met him and saw how he does his operation, he knows every type of grass and all 7 pallets of land, and he rotates them, his cattle, based on what is the best grass at that particular time of the year for those cattle. And the place kind of looks a little more rustic, but it's very wild and natural, and lots of life going on over there. And the soil is deep and rich. The roots go down 7 feet or more of some of these plants. He doesn't have to spray herbicide on the grass. The cows take care of it. And it is a great regenerative system that is doing wonderful things for he sequesters a lot of carbon by using cows, because the cows eat the grass, poop, that gets trampled into the ground, and you see darker soil just rich with carbon that has come from the atmosphere being pushed back into the soil, making it rich and fertile. I mean, he's turning dirt into soil, and that's what you want, in my opinion. So it's nice to know that, the cattle, the beef that I eat, I know how it's raised. I know the people that do the processing of the beef. They cut them the steaks just the way I want them. I want them about 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick. They give me all the right cuts. It's fantastic. And that can only be done if you get to know your rancher. So take the time, get to know the ranchers, get to know the people that are producing your food. It's fun. Actually, it's a great way to help teach the kids about the circle of life and how things work in the real world and not in comic books and fairy tales and in public schools. And and it's great to be able to tell the people that want to push meatless Mondays on your kids, and your kids go, but we like our cow. We love our rancher. I mean, I'd love to have more kids be able to tell the woke crowd that we really do want to eat our own beef. Thank you very much. We can think for ourselves because we want to be healthy. And if you want to join me on this journey to health, realize that, look, the world is not on your side. The media isn't on your side. They want, the scientists, the medical profession, everything is really kind of working against you. Well, they're not really working against you. They don't hate you. They're just not working for you. Because in this fight for health, we're all alone. But we can all be alone in this together. So do me a favor, leave a comment below. Do you know your rancher? Do you know where your beef is coming from? Is that a goal of yours? Let other people know. Encourage one another. Good stories help other people to realize that we're not alone in this, and that there are people that are really looking after the environment. They are looking after the local ranchers. They're getting better bargains by buying directly from the rancher, and the rancher gets more money, and we can sustain more family farms that way. And frankly, if you do it right, it's also really tasty. This is Kirk, the Bariatric Carnivore. I try to put out a new message every single workday. I will talk to you soon.